Hello, thank you for joining a new video. Today, we're unboxing the HUAWEI Pura 80 Pro. Let's begin. This device has had a launch price in Mexico of 23,999 pesos. On the screen, you see the reference price in dollars. However, in Mexico, they are currently offering you a 4,000 pesos discount coupon during this pre-sale stage. I leave the coupon here in the description so you can take advantage of it. Here, they also include the FreeBuds Pro 4, which are excellent quality headphones, a router with Wi-Fi 7 and Huawei Care Plus for 12 months, and insurance covering accidental cell phone damages. Furthermore, they provide you with a 24-month interest-free period, along with 10 times the usual points, which you can use for purchasing additional items. This makes the offer quite appealing. Now, let's take the cell phone out of the box to explore what it has in store for us. Immediately, we notice the back cover of the cell phone, which features an impressively large camera module. Although it isn't as massive as the Ultra models, it is still quite impressive and very good. The phone boasts a glossy design, and typically I'm not a fan of such cell phones. However, for some reason, especially in this white version, the device looks quite impressive. I must mention that the camera module isn't as reflective as the rest of the phone's body. Yet for reasons unknown, I find myself genuinely liking its appearance. Now, let's power on the phone as we check out what other items are included in the box, allowing us to concentrate better. Following that, we will look directly at the specifications it will provide us with. Next, we are going to locate the case. Pay attention to the fact that in this instance, it is a case without any specific design, quite plain, although it does feature an intriguing finish. Over here, when viewed closely, it appears fully translucent. However, you will notice that it creates some blurring, making it not entirely transparent. In fact, it isn't fully flexible either, and it features very rigid edges. Now, it's your turn to tell me in the comments how you like this device. Given that it's a cell phone and will reflect light regardless, I'd use it with a case. In fact, this finish I mentioned makes the reflections much more muted. I find it curious. I like how it looks with a case, so I'd use this device with one. The case doesn't take away from its good aesthetics. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. So here, along with the case, you'll receive the usual paperwork and the tool to eject the SIM card tray. Furthermore, we will discover a charger with a power of 100 watts and a cable that connects from USB-C to USB-C, offering a contemporary experience. However, you already know that the Huawei charger comes with two ports, one USB-A and one USB-C, because it is a multi-device charger, so you can use it not only to charge the cell phone but also the tablet or computer, although not simultaneously. That's why it comes with this design attached. Sadly, in Mexico, the charger isn't included. This might differ in other regions, so keep that in mind. Huawei used to include this accessory, but not anymore. However, if you own a Huawei laptop or tablet, you likely have a charger that works with this power. So that's what's in the box. How about we pack it up and dive into the phone specs? We'll find a thickness of 8.3 millimeters and a weight of 219 grams. I believe it's well equipped. It's not solely focused on being ultra thin and light. Personally, for high-end devices, I prefer this trend, offering more features without emphasizing lightness and thinness. Still, the difference isn't huge between this and slightly thinner devices. In this particular case, it features water resistance rated at the IP69 level, so it's super resistant, but unlike others, it lacks an underwater photo mode. The front has last-gen Kunlun glass protection, which we've tested, and it's very tough to break. However, it's not meant for throwing around. I see water resistance and glass more for surviving accidents. The screen measures 6.8 inches diagonally and features OLED LTPO technology with a variable refresh rate ranging from 1 to 120 Hz. It also has a high dimming rate of 1440 Hz to prevent flickering. The resolution is 2848 by 1275 pixels, offering a very high resolution for excellent quality. It has stereo sound with a speaker at the bottom and another in the earpiece area for calls, with output through the frame. It's very good. It appears that this generation has undergone changes in terms of the speaker, as it sounds exceptionally good with impressive power in the bass frequencies. The front camera is 13 megapixels with an aperture of f2.0 and includes autofocus. It is particularly notable for its excellent level of amplitude. As you can see here, even from the preview, it already provides outstanding quality, and the level of detail it achieves is remarkable. It's very good, very attractive. After that, I took another picture with a more intense backlit area, and you can observe that the preview is not yet completely 100% optimized. However, after processing, it performs excellently. As anticipated, this is an HDR display, so notice how at certain points the screen can increase the brightness of specific areas to enhance realism. To the pictures you're viewing, which don't appear flat, and you can notice some areas are more illuminated. And let's say to the back where there's a 40 megapixel ultra wide angle camera with an f2.2 aperture and autofocus. The main camera has a 50% megapixel 1-inch sensor, which is large and captures a lot of light. It also features optical stabilization and a variable aperture starting from f1.6 up to f4.0. Here I'm moving it manually so you can notice this change more. And finally, the telephoto camera, which also has macro capability with a 48 megapixel sensor and f2.1 aperture, obviously with autofocus and optical stabilization. This camera has a 92.5mm focal length, about 4x zoom. It also includes the 1.5 megapixel ultra chroma camera for faithful color capture. Now, let's check the photo carousel. You're seeing the ultra-wide camera with great quality. Afterwards, the main camera continues to display a very high level of detail overall, making it a really excellent photo. Next, the 2x crop also appears quite impressive, and then we move on to the telephoto camera with 4x zoom, which regains an exceptional level of optical detail. Next, you will see 10x zoom photography, where it still appears excellent, and then 30x, which is the maximum you would typically use in daily life, where it maintains good quality. While it may not be the best example of zoom capabilities, keep in mind that this is not the priciest device, and its maximum digital zoom reaches 100x, although it may seem a bit forced. When it comes to video recording, we will find 4K at 60 frames per second as the maximum quality available. On the front camera, we also have 4K at 60 frames per second, and here you can see an example quickly. The ultra-wide camera records with impressive quality, and there's undoubtedly a smooth transition between this camera and the main one. Additionally, even with the 2x zoom, it maintains good quality. The transition to the telephoto camera is also handled well, ensuring you don't notice any abrupt changes. And I believe the video recording quality appears good, and in this case, the maximum digital zoom supported for video is 20x. The battery capacity is 5170 mAh. In addition to supporting 100 watts charging, it also provides wireless charging and reverse wireless charging capabilities. However, when discussing the battery, it's crucial to test it in practice, as excellent specifications don't always mean the battery performance will be good. In a solid autonomy, in the video review that we will publish later, we will include detailed battery tests. Please keep in mind that this device lacks support for 5G networks. This will be one of its main drawbacks, not due to preference, but because of the limitations in the United States. You already know that Huawei is not allowed to access technologies developed by the United States, so unfortunately there it has a major limitation, although for the vast majority of people will. Not notice the difference between 4G and 5G depending on the activities they do, but it is definitely a big disadvantage compared to the vast majority of high-end devices. Also in this case, it comes with 15 is the newest version of Huawei's global layer. However, it is not the software that Huawei is focusing on as a priority, since that would be harmonious. Therefore, we will not see a lot of new features here. It's a software that feels a bit old, honestly, plus obviously you will face obstacles when installing applications. That's why I would recommend it only to the most enthusiastic who will have no problem installing, for example, Aurora Store or some other alternative stores to be able to access more easily to applications. But users a little more basic will have some difficulties. Finally, the device comes with 12 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage, and features the Kirin 9000 and 20 processor and 8-core processor that honestly feels quite outdated, like it's from 2 years ago or even older. However, this is yet another limitation that Huawei faces at the moment. It must develop its processors using entirely homegrown technology with absolutely no involvement from the United States. This is the reason why Huawei's processors are not as powerful as those found in other current high-end devices. In Geekbench gave us a score of 1,272 points in a single core and 4,400. 89 points in multi-core, i.e. enough power for the vast majority of users, but for the most demanding games. Or complicated video editing will be quite brief. In Antutu, it scored 11,1,460 points, indicating that it is a relatively weak processor in terms of graphics processing and advanced gaming. From the software perspective, we can already see that games will face some challenges as the AppGallery catalog is limited. Additionally, certain games might encounter restrictions when attempting to install them without Google services. It's not a gaming phone, that should be clear. It is a cell phone primarily focused on photography. The photography quality would be of a very good level, but you should keep in mind the limitations it may have. Naturally, in the video review, I will share many more details about this device after we have tested it more thoroughly. For now, this has been a first look, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to let us know, and we will see you next time.